We're live.
Good morning, Hot Takes Party of Four fans. Welcome to June 16th, episode 19?
19, last year of the teens.
Last year of the teens. Oh boy, I didn't even think of that. We're getting old.
Responsibility starts next year.
Bills.
I like it. How's everybody doing this morning?
I'm doing just fabulous. Hot week out here in Vegas. 117 today. So that should be fun.
Wow.
117. So what's it like with the humidity out there, Gavin?
So the humidity, it's fairly dry. It's fairly dry. So I mean, I know that people use that in Arizona. The folks in Phoenix use it as an excuse all the time. It's like, well, it's 120 today, but it's a dry heat, so it's okay. No, it's not okay.
Dry heat. It's all right.
It does help a little bit. I mean, you can imagine if you added a little bit of humidity into 170, it would be unbearable. But it's still 117. I mean, you can cook an egg on the sidewalk. So slow cook, but you can still do it.
Hey, I don't like them burned anyways,
Well, there
just
you go.
nice and easy.
I always say it's like it could be 117 in my oven, but I don't want to get in it. That's what I hate.
That's right.
Man, like I see, I guess I can't complain. I mean, I complained all last weekend up here in Minnesota. For those of you, Chris, up in Minneapolis, Minnesota area, it was like 99 degrees and I had to sit outside watching soccer games. And I was like, God, it's too hot to be doing this.
That's cold compared to where we get into double digits and we're like, woohoo.
I didn't know that it got that hot in Minnesota.
At this point in time of the year, it usually doesn't. We're setting records and it's not a record I want to be setting.
How's your humidity out there? I got to imagine it's pretty humid.
It is. It's humid. I mean, it's not a dry heat up here. It sucks. And my quick story on that. My oldest daughter had a soccer tournament last weekend, and they were playing on a turf football field for soccer. So under the turf is rubber. There's rubber pellets, everything. Like after the game, the whole team was like, my feet are on fire. Like, because it was like 15 degrees hotter down on the field than everywhere else because they're running around on rubber. And I'm like, suck it up. And then I got down there and walked across it and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible.
That's interesting. And probably I would never even think of that.
Yeah. So, yeah. We got the extreme heat. We got the extreme cold. We never get comfortable up here.
Sounds great.
Come on over. So, well, if everybody tuning in has obviously noticed, there are three of us on the call today. Our fearless fourth in Madison Mastro is going to try to join us. She's doing a little traveling with her new role, getting to know some customers in that great state of Ohio with another colleague of ours. So if she pops in, fantastic. It'll be a surprise, but otherwise you're stuck with three of us for this episode. And on this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the apparel trends that we are seeing out there right now. There are lots to talk about. I've got quite a list here, but anything you guys want to pop in on before I just start kind of going down a list?
Are you referring to apparel trends in the industry or just in general? I'm assuming you're referring to industry trends.
I would say industry mainly, but in general as well, because I think there's some correlation there. We're usually behind the times in the industry, but
right.
There's definitely I think there's more crossover these days than there has been in the past. We are, like you said, we're always behind the times, but we're much quicker than we used to be, in the industry. So it is improving. But what I I'm finding interesting. I'm actually about to start a little vacation in about an hour, and I'm in New Jersey at the beach. And over the weekend, I went to the t-shirt shops, the beach shops, and I'm always the dork in there running around going, "Oh, look, Team 365. Oh, look, that's ours. That's ours." You
Me
know.
too.
But you see, again, it was funny because I was thinking of this episode when I was walking around the store, and we did make some purchases, and everybody in my family now is a proud owner of tie dye. A tie dye piece for the city that we're in, the little town that we're in, Seattle City, New Jersey. So we're all going to have coordinating tie dye, kind of like Baja pieces to wear. So there's a trend that I think really started to escalate during the pandemic, and clearly is still out there and heavy, and that crosses over from our industry to retail.
I agree with you, Kim. I would have a question for you. Why do you think, and you as well, Chris, why do you think tie-dye became trendy over the last year and a half? It perplexes me a little bit.
I think it's twofold. I think that one, it's the bright colors of it. So during a time when we all kind of needed a little bit of cheering up and happiness, it was it was a breath of fresh air, I'm sorry, to see those bright colors. But also there were a lot of us that were stuck home looking for new hobbies. So I know in the world, people were actually physically tie-dyeing themselves at home. I will admit I have some white pieces in a tie-dye kit still sitting in a bag that we thought we were going to do last summer, and we didn't. It's still waiting to be done. But I think that my opinion is twofold. It's one, the bright colors of it, and then two, it was something to do.
It had nothing to do with the psychedelic trend from the 70s, or that wasn't it.
I don't know, possibly.
No, you have good points. You bring up great points to that for sure.
Yeah, she took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, we were stuck at home. My kids, my 9-year-old, my 12-year-old, they're artsy, they love to do stuff. They kept asking me for white t-shirts, and I was like, what are you gonna do? And they're like, well, I'm gonna tie-dye it. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. You know how to do that? Oh yeah, we watched YouTube videos, and just last week or a couple weeks ago, my oldest on her soccer team, they have like a big sister team, like a sponsor team, right? That watches their games, supports them and stuff like that. They did an event. They all tie-dyed shirts at the soccer field. So it's something to do. It's trendy. I mean, what's old is new, right? I mean, I remember when I was young in grade school, middle school, I had some tie-dye shirts, and I was like, people are wearing this. I guess it's cool. I mean, I didn't necessarily jump on that trend, but it's back now. You see it everywhere. You're seeing it at retail. You're seeing it from retail brands, Champion, Bella Canvas, and just Comfort Colors, all kinds of different places. So I think it's a huge trend. I mean, look at the inventory levels in trying to get CD 100 or some of the tie-dye styles. Nobody in the industry has a plethora of them, so it's pretty interesting.
Do either of you wear tie-dye like consistently now?
I don't, but I'm really sad. I was actually one of the few who didn't get a piece, and I'm gonna go get one so we could take a cute family picture or whatnot. And in true fashion, I don't know if you noticed, there was like, while you were talking, there was like a naked baby going up the stairs. So I apologize.
I didn't notice.
I'm in a 3-floor house, and I can't control the fact that there's another 10 people with me. So I saw them coming, and I was laughing at
That's
so you're saying I'm gonna have to change the parental controls on this when I upload it to YouTube, huh?
My niece was coming back from the beach and sneaking by. So there's probably more to come. I'll try to block the stairway.
Oh, that's great.
Anyway,
maybe we need some hot takes party of 4 tie-dye shirts.
Oh, that'd be fun.
You know, tie-dye is too bright and cheery for me. I like black shirts. I wear dark blue. I like black hats. I mean, I'll take one for the team. I'll put on a bright, cheery hot takes tie-dye shirt if that's what we're doing.
We'll
Well, you
see.
could tie dye black. I mean, there are darker color tie dye.
You know, that's interesting. Just use a bunch of dark colors. I would do that. That would be interesting. I'd try that.
Or
Well-
you could take a black shirt and create a tie dye effect with bleach. So you do the opposite.
Right.
So then you have kind of like a black with it doesn't turn really white. It's more of like an orangey color. But so you can have, darker shades. I remember when I was in high school, probably, I had a tie-dyed Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and that was like blues and greens. It was darker.
That's right up my
Yeah.
alley. I can do that.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
We'll have to work on that.
I'm with you, Gabriel. I don't know. I was just throwing it out there. I didn't mean we should do it. But
All
What
right, Chris,
about,
what do you got? What do you got? You got a list of things. Let's get going.
I do. So COVID last year, obviously, everybody's still talking about it. We're coming out of it. I mean, in some areas of the country, hashtag COVID doesn't exist anymore. But what about athleisure? We have started to see so many trends in athleisure come into the marketplace. Look at inventory levels on sweatshirts, joggers, for example. Look at all of us. We're, from the waist up. I'm wearing joggers right now. It's comfortable. I can get away with it right now.
I have tie-dye pants on.
There you go. There you go. So I think the athleisure trend is another one. I think it's here to stay. You're seeing more articles on it. Companies like Lululemon, Athleta, Champion, Threadfast from us, just to name a few, that have really seen sales jump because of that trend.
Yeah, it's tying into a more day-to-day, even corporate look.
Mhm.
So like you were mentioning that Threadfast, the Impact Collection, that new T-shirt, the only thing that makes it look a little bit athletic is the fact that it has a raglan sleeve. But the fabrication of it, the fabric is fabulous to wear, and you could so very easily put on a pair of, jeans or what have you. I know. Say hi to my whole family coming back from the beach. And incorporate it into your wardrobe and still either be on a Zoom or go to the office and look. So I think there's an even bigger crossover from athletic wear, where it started to just be put into our regular routine of clothing, to now being part of our corporate uniforming.
I think COVID pushed us into, athleisure, but I think it was a long time coming. I can remember, 10 years ago where I would test the waters. How casual can I get? I'm more comfortable in a casual, setting, so I think people welcomed the change. And as people go back into the office, it's more acceptable to be a little more casual than we were a year and a half ago. And so I think, like I said, it's a long time coming, and I love it. I love where we're at. Listen, we need to be neat. We need to be proper. You can't come in wearing a tank top or a wife beater and some shorts and some board shorts or something. But
That's next.
Well,
that's the next level.
We might be crossing the line there, but I like where we're at, and I think our vendors are being responsible with the way they're designing the pieces, the way they're bringing them to market, and I think we have wide acceptance, and I do like that.
Yeah, I think when you look at one of the big trends also that's kind of feeds into athleisure is crew neck sweatshirts. They were huge back in the day, right? I mean, I kind of think of my mom and dad and kind of the old grandparents wearing crew neck sweatshirts all the time.
Right.
I was always a hoodie guy, snip the hoodie. Now you're seeing crew necks come back in a huge way, and all the way from kind of a grunge look to a tie-dye look to a nice, clean, dressy looking crew neck that you're seeing people wear over button down dress shirts. You're seeing them wear over polos and things like that. And they look nice. They're clean. They've got a nice logo on them. So, you know, I think the athleisure trend is here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I'm interested to see kind of what evolves out of that. I think you could see more yoga lines, and more, you know, kind of active wear brands enter the industry. I know I would love that. I'm sure everybody else out there would love that as well. So,
Right.
so I've got a couple more here we can talk about. You know, textures. Again, when you think of apparel, when you think of trends that you're seeing out there, textures and fabrics. At Alpha Broder, we're doing a lot of products right now that are what we call hybrid styles. You know, they have a quilted portion to it with a soft shell bottom, or they have a ribbed portion to it with a smooth faced item in a quarter zip. You're seeing a lot of that from Spider. You're seeing a lot of that from Columbia. We're doing North End. So what do you guys think about hybrid fabrics and kind of textures?
Yeah, I think it gives a lot of different products an elevated look.
Mhm.
So it helps our pieces in our industry be a little bit more fashion forward and retail-esque. You know, thinking back even 10 years ago, we were pretty plain. You know, it took us a long time to really start picking up on anything that was actually at all trendy, because we wanted stuff to be safe. We wanted things to
We're
have a
careful.
longevity. Yeah, careful longevity of shelf life. You know, be able to fit every demographic. But at the end of the day, nobody wanted to be in it. You know, when I started 20 whatever years ago, women had to wear men's stuff, and you couldn't get off that trade show floor fast enough and tear off whatever it was you're wearing. Now you don't mind wearing your, you know, trade show shirt and going straight to dinner or whatever, because of the elevated pieces that we're introducing. And I think that texture and like color blocking and different trim details, they just add to that aesthetic of the apparel pieces.
No, that's correct, Kim. The 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago, I'm not sure I would have worn anything that the industry provided. Now I'm consistently wearing, you know, things that we get not only from, you know, brands like Spider, Puma, Under Armour, but our private brands. You know, I love to discuss over the last few years. I think we're bridging that gap from our private brands to retail styles. You know, we're picking up on those cues that you see. You walk through a Macy's or a Nordstrom and you see something that's trending, and you'll find something similar in our line from our private brands. And I love that we've bridged that gap, and we're now providing things that people actually want to put on.
Or even from a trade perspective, you know,
Right.
think about back in the day, you know, you would go somewhere and they would give you a corrugated cotton plain 6-ounce t-shirt, and
The box t-shirt.
yeah,
Right.
and it's like, you know, do you really want to wear it? No. And then when you were done having to wear it, what did you do with it? Wash your car with it. You know, there was a place and a time for it, certainly. But you think about, especially when you're doing purchasing for your customers, bang for your buck. You know, if you want something, even if it's a promotion, but you want it to be seen and you want impressions to be made with it, put something in their drawer that they actually want to pull out and put on their body, you know. And that, I think, all comes into play with all of the trends that we see moving forward. Just what do people actually want to wear?
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, I could not agree more. It brings me back to a little story that before, you know, I went to college and got into this industry and stuff. I remember going to an event, a specific event. It was a snow cross race for all of you living in the hot part of the world. There's snow up here. We have snowmobiles.
Oh.
And they were they were driving down the track, throwing out bags with t-shirts. And I remember like, I gotta get one. I want one. And I think I trampled like an 8-year-old kid to get this thing. My wife, girlfriend at the time, was like, you just like took that kid out for a t-shirt. And I got it. And I was so happy I got it. And I pulled it out and I was like, I'm never gonna wear this. Like, like, what is this? Like, this is garbage, you know?
Yeah, Chris,
like,
but you got it.
But I got it. But nowadays, you know,
You duck. You're like,
yeah, sometimes you're like, no, it's okay, you can have it. But you look for the elevated items, right? The fashion pieces, the comfortable things that people are changing to give away that you want to pull out and wear all the time. And I think our industry, you know, to your point, Gabriel, Andrea Rootson, our director of merchandising and stuff like that, does a fantastic job of procuring brands, bringing them to the industry, but also looking at brands out there, to your point, and saying, okay, we can do something like this in North End or, you know, Devon and Jones and stuff like that. So we have a lot of inspired by pieces based on trends that we see out there in the retail market that are doing really well. So, you know, it's just another, you know, kudos to our merchandising team in where we've come from older private label days to where we are now.
Right.
yeah. And, you know, to continue the trend conversation, there is a really strong trend in retail brands in general.
Huge.
We, you know, another thing that stemmed from the pandemic, someday we'll stop saying that word, but, you know, we saw people buying smaller quantities of product, but higher quality of product. And
Huge
I
trend.
think that that's going to be a part of our conversation next week as well, plug, about sustainability. You know, you want to spend a little bit more money on one piece that's going to last longer versus having 5 pieces that, you know, may be seasonal for you. It's another big trend happening right now in both retail and our industry.
Yes. I mean, you're seeing it not just in our industry, but across the world. You know, people are looking for their retail brands. They're looking for their specific items. There's shortages all over, but, you know, they're dedicated to it. They're following it. They pick up on it. So a couple other ones I've got here to kind of talk about briefly. You know, you had touched on, you know, a couple of different things in patterns, and we just talked a little bit about hybrid fabrics, but woven dress shirts, starting to see that kind of
I was going to bring that up. Yep.
slow down from a popularity standpoint. I mean, unless I'm going to a funeral or a wedding, I'm sorry, you're not going to catch me wearing a button down. But I think you're starting to see retail brands specifically move into more patterned styles. We've got some new ones from Marmot this year in the line. And again, kind of that more casual woven. It's more acceptable now. It doesn't have to be buttoned up to the top. People aren't wearing ties as much. So
Or performance wovens.
Yeah.
You know, getting away from your standard Oxford and more into a fabric that is stretchable and moisture wicking and all those good things.
Yeah, look at what just this year, Columbia Spider Under Armour brought in those short sleeve, kind of a little more trendy button downs. You know, as people get back in the office, there's still some environments where corporate says, listen, you got to look, you can't come in a t-shirt, you got to look decent. But after a year of being in sweats and a t-shirt, folks are like, well, I don't want to put on the traditional woven. I need something a little more comfortable, casual. So you are seeing those trends. What comes to mind is that Spider button down, the short sleeve button down, and then the Under Armour.
I love it.
Isn't that a great piece?
I love it.
I mean, that is how. Yeah, that's a very cool piece. That's a very cool piece. But it's casual, but you're still looking nice because you still have the buttons, but you are short sleeve. It has a little bit of stretch in it, so you can move around and function in it. So functionality, still looking nice, still looking professional, but with that casual twist to it.
we've got it from multiple angles. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them. We got it in Under Armour. We have it in Marmot. We have it in Spider now. We have Burnside. We talked about a couple of weeks ago that does tons of performance wovens and plaids and checks.
And even think about Devon and Jones and Ultra Club.
The Crown Luxe.
We are, in the last year and a half, we added a couple of button down pieces with performance fabrics and those two brands that are super comfortable to wear. The other thing is, for those of us in hot climates, it's not so unbearable to wear a button down if it is in a forgiving, stretchable fabric. It's not clung to your body. You don't feel like you're sitting in a wet cotton ball, all of those things. Definitely see that. And I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but along the same line, it's people who are starting to want the performance features of a product, a fabric, but want it to feel more like a soft, luxurious cotton. So more and more I'm getting requests where people will say, I have a client, they only want 100% cotton. And I say, are they a fire person, or do they work in the electrical field? No? Okay, they just want the feel of cotton. Mm-hmm. Let's give them this plated 60-40 piece, show them the DG20. They'll fall in love with it. That's what they want. They just think they want 100% cotton because in their mind, the perception is the feel. Correct. So I would say the last 3 weeks, I have had like every other day, somebody call me for cotton pieces. And that's where the conversation kind of meanders to.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with that texture conversation we had a little bit earlier too, right? Like they want the softness of that cotton. That's why we came out with the CE111 and the ChromaSoft, so we have cotton, but it's 100% poly, but it feels like cotton. Every time I pull that thing out of the bag and show it to somebody, or I leave them a sample, they go, wait a minute, this is, you tell me this is poly? This thing feels super soft. This thing feels great. Mm-hmm. So, I think I think we're right on trend. You're seeing tons of things come into the marketplace there that, they're available. One of the last ones I have on kind of my list of trends in apparel right now, and I think a company doing really, really well at this is Bella Canvas right now. We'll give them a little plug here, but fast fashion, limited releases and things like that. We live in a world of customization where everybody wants it with their number on it or their name on it or a cool one-off graphic. Those limited release items, one of 500 or collectible kind of things. And Bella Canvas has launched their fast fashion line with huge success, in the last 12 to 18 months. We continue to do well with it. It's on our website. We offer it as a drop ship. It's done so well that they're pulling a lot of those styles to what Megan would call full line, right? So the suede fleece items and the drop tail hems and the curved sides and the raw edge pieces, seeing a lot more people find those items and say, man, I want those. And haven't had that conversation, which we all love right now, of get on it while you can because it's limited inventory. So I think that's another trend I don't see going away. One, it's easier to just kind of produce a one-off lot and say, hey, here it is. When it's gone, it's gone. You can get to the market quicker, which I think is kind of the whole point. So what do you guys think of that?
I have a love-hate with fast fashion.
Yeah.
And I get it. You're testing it out. The problem is when they have a winner, it's getting it to the next step.
There you go. There you go, Kim. That's therein lies the issue with what which I love what they're doing, but on the flip side of that, in the industry that we're in and customer demand, it does sometimes prove to be an issue. If you have a winner, this is great. There are no more. That's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah.
But I think you use it more as a testing phase, right? I mean, at least that's what we're seeing now. You know,
Right.
it was a winner. Now we're bringing it into full line. So it's coming, you know, so you can kind of get people re-excited about it, reintroduced in some areas and things like that. But I think you're seeing that. And that's really a retail trend, right?
Yeah.
Retail comes out seasonally, spring, fall. They have those lines. So that
And-
people are used to that. I think they're going to start to get used to it on our side, hopefully a little bit more too.
And there are retail stores that I shop at that do the same thing. They do, and they call it fast fashion. They'll do an online limited release of a few styles, and when it's gone, it's gone. So it's kind of like a trendy retail thing to do a fast fashion line as well. And Bella's always, I think, really quick to be in line with what you see in retail, from a marketing perspective as well as a product one.
Well, from a marketing perspective, one has to ask themselves, as in retail, they'll do these quick runs to see what's successful. And then you'll see down the line, well, you know what, this is coming back, or we're going to go full run. We're going to go full bore on this one and really bring out this one did way better than this one and whatnot. So, you know, is that Bella's angle with what they're doing? Is it turn and burn, or is it, hey, we've had success with this, let's add something like this to the line? You know, if you want to create buzz, you know, hey, this is something we ran for a short time and we're going to add it to the line in 6 months. Is that an angle, you think? Or you think they're just really, they're following the trend of retail and they're just short runs and that's it?
Maybe a little bit of both, because then
I
it
agree.
also creates buzz for the brand.
Yep.
You know, so it pulls you into, if you're not a Bella buyer, it pulls you into something that catches your eye. Like we used to call it eye candy. We would put, you know, it ironically, you know, back in the day at my alma mater, Bodick and Rhodes, we thought like introducing, I don't know if I should say the brand, but I will, like Tommy Hilfiger. And it was in the front of the catalog. And that was back when it was so exciting and all that. And I remember we were like, it's kind of like eye candy. Are we going to sell a ton of it? Probably not. But it brought a lot of people into our catalog to keep turning the page. So maybe it's a little bit of that as well for Bella, opening the you know, people who are not consumers of their brand to the brand.
That's a smart
I
answer.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree,
Yeah.
100%. And you know, I think we have a lot of that eye candy too. You know, in
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
alpha launch. The goal is to obviously grow it, you know, groom it, you know, bring out new styles, continue. I'd be perfectly honest in saying that you know, when we first launched Spider, I think it was more of an eye candy brand. You know, we did 8 styles right out of the gate. Now we've seen that grow to over 48 styles, and the brand is booming for us. We've made it a lifestyle brand in this industry. So, you know, I think that's kind of the chance to get involved with it. But then the goal is to expand upon it and make it a collection. So
I would love more expansion on brands that are less cold weather wear. So I think, and I really thought
like what, Kim?
like, well, you know, I thought Nautico is a great start, right? Very coastal inspired, but admittedly, a lot of the product we bought in is outerwear.
Mhm.
You know, we really only have a couple of headwear pieces and then a couple of lifestyle pieces. So that, you know, was one way. And I hear rumors of perhaps something down the pike coming that might fall in line. But I would love to have more of that, you know, coastal inspired, warm weather friendly brands and pieces come to the collection, because I feel like we do a lot of outerwear, which, let's face it, I don't sell a ton of in South Florida because it's, you know, 90 degrees and Gabriel's sitting in an oven right now. So if Andrea is listening, wink, wink.
Yeah, I think you could also, I would throw another one in there with Puma. You know, Puma is a golf inspired, you know, kind of lightweight. There's on the flip side, there's not a lot of outerwear in the Puma line, but
Right.
we haven't had any newness in it. we've got some new products coming, I believe, spring of 2022. So stay tuned for that. So
Yeah.
I think there's lots of things, and yes, maybe an announcement later this year with something else. But
I would
you know,
love some pretty pastel-y beach friendly colors,
me
you
too.
know. It's a lot of we sell a lot of black and royal and
Sorry,
Gabriel's
Gabriel.
Right up
really
my
got
alley.
We
Right up
need
my
color,
alley.
man.
I'm
We
good to
need
go.
color.
This is a conversation for you two to have because I like our dark greenery. I have a black soul type of atmosphere.
you like our North End collections. I always say our North End brand is very gray and black and those very not coastal inspired color palette
You should
pieces.
see my drawers in my closet. Yes, it is all dark. It's all
That
dark.
hey, that brings up a great transition to the PSA product spotlight announcement of the week. We are rocking North End today. That is private label home brand of Alpha Broder. It's a full line brand for us. A lot of performance, a lot of textures, a lot of style to it. Very kind of like we talked about earlier in this episode, one of those inspired by brands. I'm rocking the staple 88697, the Flux jacket. I think Gabriel's got the same. One of my favorite brands to talk about in our collection. Very trendy, very comfortable, great fabrics. What do you got on, Kim?
I am wearing my favorite piece from the collection is the long and the short sleeve version of the NE 100, NE 400. Well, the W for ladies. It is super comfortable. It is very easy care. I always talk about things that wash and wear. You put it in the washer, you put it in the dryer, and you hang it up. And if you're good to go, it's good for me because I hate ironing. And it's a breathable, comfortable piece to wear in hot climate, and it has stretch, so it's forgiving on different body types, and I always feel comfortable throwing it on. Great
Love that
piece.
piece.
What I love about the piece you guys are wearing is that is probably the number one style I see, now that I'm back traveling via plane, in airports. The number one style I see from all of the pieces we make in our private brands is that Flux jacket. You see it walking through the terminals all of the time when traveling.
When Prime and Alpha merged, we were a week or two in. I had just gone through a short online, I had a PowerPoint of some of the new pieces. The very first piece I saw in an airport was this Flux jacket, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to my VP at the time, and I'm like, spotted. So yeah, it was in an airport. So it's funny that you mentioned that story. Of all of our private brands, I think North End could easily be a retail brand. The pieces that we have in the line, and you mentioned the easy care, but the stylistic aspects to them. This is the original Flux. We have the Flux 2.0, which has the Ceramtech printed on the inside, which takes cues from which holds body heat in, takes cues from retail on that side as well. But they've done a fabulous job with North End. It is mostly outerwear. I mean, right? It's jackets and quarter zips and things like that. But so it doesn't necessarily work for Kim's area or my area, but I still outside of, this area.
And it is my go-to winter coat.
Yeah.
Is a North End, the new, I'm not going to remember the style number, but the new version of the puffer with the cool quilted puff.
That piece there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that for, middle of winter. I have the moto style jacket. I have the vest. So when I am in cold weather, those are the pieces that I go to.
Yeah, the piece you're wearing, Kim, the NE 100 and the 100W, the NE 400, that was a spring launch of like the relaunch of North End for everybody listening out there. That was 2020 spring launch in those styles. So they got hijacked by COVID. Take a look at them. They're out there. They're fabulous pieces. I believe we're going to continue to add to that collection. And to your point, Gabriel, in the old Midwest crew, we call them the Midwest OGs. We had a game we would play on the text thread called Spot the Flux.
I love it.
We would snap photos of people and send them on the text thread. I got one. I got one. All the
It's
time.
always fun to see your private brands out in the in the wild.
It is
It's
true.
it's
And
fun.
like I'm telling you, Sunday when we walked into that store, it was one of those stores where you pick out the iron-on thing, and they had a bunch
The
of next
transfer, yeah.
level and transfers. Yeah, but I turned the corner and they had a whole rack of Team 365 jackets, and I was like, oh look, there we are. And the guy who worked there is probably some kid behind the counter, like, what is wrong with this woman? Because I'm going, that's mine, that's mine, that's
No, miss, you
mine.
have to pay for those first before they're yours. Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
I,
fun.
I think one last trend I would point out quickly, and then we'll get to the OG question of the week, because I would be remiss if I did not mention it. Snapbacks, baby. Hats.
Yeah.
Snapbacks were hot back when I was in grade school and stuff like that. Then you kind of went to that flex fitted option. Now you can't walk anywhere without seeing somebody rocking a trucker cap in a snapback of some sort. We've got them in Spider, we've got them in Yupong, we've got them in Puma, we've got them all over the place. And the trend of hats and headwear and snapbacks has been insane.
Huge. Yeah, and check out if you are a consumer of a specific brand that's popular, that's maybe struggling with some inventory right now, we have a super nice heathered trucker look from our Team 365 collection, the TT802. It is a super nice hat that I have switched a lot of customers over to. Of course, we have the 6606 from Yupong as well, but headwear in general on fire. In my territory, I'm also seeing a huge uptick in bucket hats.
Of course, Chris is gonna sport one.
Like these?
Yes.
Is that Nautica?
We have Nautica. We have Columbia.
Columbia.
Bag Edge. Yeah. We got them all, baby.
Yeah.
The fact
bucket
that you
hats.
have one.
I'm always prepared, Gabriel.
I'm literally looking out at the Atlantic Ocean. I'm at the beach. I don't have a bucket hat with me. Oh, but wait, I do have our CE. What is it? It's our CE 102.
You're gonna have to show it to us before.
No, our CE. No. I'm confusing our TT. It's our CE 001.
Yeah.
Performance hat. I'm telling you, and I just had somebody ask me, what's a good beach hat for women? And I was like, well, I'll tell you what I take to the beach with me. The CE 001 has a little bit of a sandwich bill, but it's a great piece if you're going to be maybe like out playing pickleball, sitting on the beach, good piece. But bucket hats, I'm hearing a lot about. I haven't ventured to wear one yet.
Oh,
Kim, do you plan on playing pickleball? Is that what you plan on doing today?
No, I'm not.
You mentioned it. I just wondered if that's what you planned on doing.
No, it's huge in the state of Florida. Everybody plays pickleball, and we do. I shouldn't have made the comment about age, because we have a colleague who is like a pickleball champion.
We do.
Yeah, like our Orlando sales rep is apparently like an avid pickleball player, and yeah. So it sounds like fun. I've never attempted to play. I've never pretended to be an athletic superstar. So I probably look pretty funny playing it. But I guess it's like a cross between tennis and racquetball. But you play on a court, but there's courts all over the state of Florida. So it's like the hot trend. Speaking of trends.
There you go.
Can I just tie one thing all together when we talk about trends?
Of course.
The overwhelming trend right now in general is things that were popular in the early 90s, I would say, are back again, just with, a little bit of a twist. So that's why when we talk about some of these brands, Puma, Nautica, they're popular because that is coming back again, Champion. But then within those brands, the styles, look at anorak jackets. I used to call them windbreakers, the quarter zip pullover, make swishy sound. They're huge right now. Everybody's making one. So I think just overall, and maybe that ties into tie-dye as well. Maybe it ties into texture, neon colors, things like that. So I think it's the old adage, what goes around comes back around inevitably. So, maybe next year we'll be wearing like flapper girl dresses or something.
Oh God.
You go ahead and start that, Kim.
Yeah. Let us know.
It's on.
Gabriel and I are going to start a different trend. We don't know what, but we'll let you know.
I'm telling you, Chris, we need to bring back the overalls and hang one off of our shoulder.
I'm in.
Oh,
I'm
you.
in.
That was
100%.
always
Wait,
my favorite.
so I know we talked about that before, but my
We did.
11-year-old daughter has a couple of sets of shorts that are the overall. She just had one on.
Yep.
She doesn't wear it. She doesn't wear it with the one down.
I feel like
But,
that could be a Nautica release.
Nautica overalls.
Nautica overalls. I don't know. Andrea, take it or leave it. Whatever you want to do, throw it back at me. I don't know.
That's
Kim,
funny.
take us home with the OG question. of the
OG
week.
question of the week.
Oh, gee,
My Kim.
I don't know why I'm missing Maddie more when we get to the OG question of the week part. Probably because she just makes me feel like more of the OG than anybody else.
All right.
All right. So, what movie traumatized you the most as a child?
Oh, geez,
Sixth Sense.
how long do you have?
So I have like an irrational fear of birds. I think they're beautiful. I love seeing them fly around. But I mean, just yesterday alone, like a seagull took off over my head, and I grabbed my daughter like for coverage. And they all think I'm ridiculous and make fun of me, but I don't know what it is. And I thought about, like, I grew up watching Alfred Hitchcock movies and of course saw the birds, and I never thought I was traumatized by it, but I think like deep rooted in the back of my head created some kind of traumatic experience that I'm scared of birds. I watched Jaws too. I'm not scared to go in the ocean, but anyway, what do you guys got?
So I'm going to go two. I'm going to give you a typical one, which is, of course, which makes perfect sense, is a Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a scene that I will not describe because it still haunts me in my 40s right now. That got to me, and I'm like, how am I allowed to even watch this movie? This is ridiculous. And I was mad at my parents. But on a not so typical level, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
What?
Kind of creepy, I guess. The Oompa Loompas, or is that?
I don't want to just narrow it down to the Oompa Loompas, but the whole concept of, going in and eating everything that's around. You're a kid, and chocolate is like chocolate. I mean, that you lived and died for candy as a kid. And there's a movie that comes out that shows the world. These kids, they go into a world essentially, and they can eat anything. And I was like, well, how do I get to that world? Gabriel, there's no world like that. I'm like, are you? And it was a terrible. When I found out that I could not get into this world and this world doesn't exist for me, I was traumatized.
That's a good one. That's
I
interesting.
suffered for 5 to 10 years. It was the whole everything about it, and then they got on the boat. And you remember the boat, the little scenes on the boat when they're.
Yeah. Were you always looking for the gold? Were you always looking for the golden ticket whenever you opened a candy bar?
If you open it just a little bit, open the candy bar just a little bit, maybe you're gonna get it.
Oh, that's fun. That's funny. That's a rarity right there. That's good. That's
what
good.
Was it? Slugworth? Is that
Slugsworth?
Slugsworth.
Slugsworth. Yeah, that's just all of it was just a creepy.
Oh man.
Funny.
I'll give you two as well. The Sixth Sense freaked me out a little bit. I don't like talking or thinking and talking. I don't like ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. Like, but when some people, I don't.
You're a little bit afraid.
Yeah, when some people like try to justify it, and I can get there. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't want. I'm done talking.
You
about
don't. It's not that you don't believe.
Yeah.
It's you're scared at the reality.
That's what it is.
No, I'm.
You don't want to see.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I see dead people. Fun fact, my sister is an extra in that movie.
Oh, wow. See, again,
Yes.
this just goes to show this is not scripted, people. Like you can't make this stuff up.
No.
And then I remember the Saw series
I
freaked
never saw.
me out.
Well,
And
yeah.
it freaked me out because it was like real, like that could happen. Like, and I was like, people got sick minds. Like, I am scarred for life.
Yeah.
I always get more freaked out by real, like I remember being a kid and watching Amityville Horror. And and there's some, it's based on a real happening of a family. I spent some of my time in Long Island, and I remember going past that house. I'm like, these poor people, whoever lives in this house now, have all these idiots driving up and down their street. But I remember that like freaking me out, and it was more so because you knew that there was some elements of truth to the scariness of the story. Just like Sixth Sense.
Oh God. No, we're done. Thanks for tuning in. This has been episode 19 of Hot Takes Party of 4. Join us next week. We're going to talk about sustainability in the marketplace. We're going to highlight one of our favorite brands. Until next week, Maddie, travel safe. We'll see you next week. We miss
Stay
you.
cool.
Stay cool and peace out.